Our first speaker is Ms. Tara Teng. Okay, Tara. I just actually met Tara. Tara is a TV host, Miss World Canada 2012, a human rights activist, and works with various organizations around the world to combat gender-based violence and human trafficking. She was named Canada's Woman of the Year in 2011, named one of Globe and Mail's top 25 most transformational Canadians, and received the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal in recognition of her vast human rights work. Tara is currently the BC Director for the Joy Smith Foundation, working to end human trafficking and support the rehabilitation of survivors across Canada.
I grew up in a small town. We have a very close-knit family. We were actually homeschooled, so we were always together. And we have an incredible family, incredible father and mother who taught us the value of hard work, who always taught us about compassion and service and most of all integrity. That's the one thing that I always remember about my dad. I'll always remember him talking about integrity and how if you can't say something and put your entire fiber of every bit of your being behind the words that you're saying, you shouldn't even bother uttering the words, because it is that important to stand behind what you say and be all that you say that you are. And at the end of the day, I still take that everywhere that I am with me. It doesn't matter what titles or things that I've accomplished, what words are on my resume. At the end of the day, if I don't have integrity, if I don't have conviction, if I don't have character behind my name, then my name means nothing.
How are you guys doing? Okay, like 50% of us are awake. That's good. Awesome. Who had like a late night with the kids? Okay, we're all honest. That's good. Okay, awesome. Well, I am super excited to be here with you guys. I'm looking forward to meeting you. We get to spend the whole day together, so that's going to be awesome, right? My name is Tara Teng, and I guess you kind of already heard a little bit about me, but I'm pumped to get to know you guys. I think that days like this are just so amazing and so special, and shout out to you, all of the incredible sponsors and hosts for making this happen and giving us a place just to be really real and authentic with our journeys of motherhood, because we don't always get enough of that in our world. And it's really inspiring to me. As I was preparing, you know, our theme is childhood. And there's so much that we could talk about on that. We could have like a whole full weekend. Maybe we should have a weekend in the future, because I think like one day, like there's going to be so much good stuff. But I titled my talk for you guys today about raising world changers. And that's something that's so dear to my heart. And I want us to see childhood as an opportunity. So that's kind of where we're going today. I love motherhood. Motherhood is my muse. Oh, okay, first, before I get too much into this, I know we're tired, but I just want to give you all permission to be loud. Okay, yeah, like you, that's awesome, good. I want to give you guys permission to be loud. Like, I give you permission to like get a little weird if you want to. Like, this should be a conversation, okay? So, and I want to have conversations with you guys after. But, you know, I'm kind of from like a Southern gospel church, so I want that to kind of like be the feel here. So like, if you hear something that you like give me an amen and hoot and holler, and like applause is always like good too. So, you know, just feel free. You have permission to be loud, okay? I know this little one is really excited about that. So if you hear something that you really like, let me know. So motherhood is my muse. I am super inspired by just badass moms who are raising the future. I'm super inspired by those who wrangle toddlers, wipe runny noses, clean poop. I'm super inspired by the badass soccer moms. Shout out to the soccer moms. Who's a soccer mom? Yeah, my kid is never allowed to play soccer because I do not like wet. I do not like rain. And I shout out to you guys. You guys are strong as. But so, yeah, like just, that's okay. No worries. I'm inspired by mothers who let their children be risk takers. I'm inspired by the mothers who teach their children radical compassion and grace that flies in the face of everything that we think we know. I am incredibly inspired by mothers who don't shy away from having the hard conversations with their children and who teach their children the truth about the world that we live in, right? Because that's what it means to be a mom today. That's what it's about. When we raise our children, we are raising the future. We are bar none, we are the most influential people on the planet today because we get to shape what tomorrow, what 20 years, what 50 years from now is going to look like. It's up to us. It's about how we shape and mold these individuals. I was just at the lovely Roundhouse radio station just the other day, and we were having this conversation, and I think that I kind of took the radio host a little bit by surprise. I think that she was expecting me to come in and we were going to have like this nice Miss Canada talk. And somebody should have warned her. Because right off the bat, we were talking about motherhood and how that looks when we're preparing our children and raising them to be good humans in the world, how we deal with preparing them for things like Black Lives Matter and the Syrian refugee crisis, and how we deal with these major issues of gender inequality. I work in human trafficking. How do we teach our children to be responsible global citizens in the face of these major, massive issues? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. If you haven't had your coffee yet, this will hopefully get you jazzed up and fuel some fire in your veins, because this is what's going down. This is what we need to talk about, because this is what it means to be mothers today. As mothers, we know that in our world today, if we're going to raise good humans, we need to properly equip our children with the compassion, the courage, and the integrity to handle these issues in the right way. Because our children are going to forever be impacted by us. We are the most influential people in our children's lives. They're going to end up growing up, for better or worse, to be influenced by our values, our ethics, and our worldview. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, history is going to be our judge. And how we did that, and if we did that right. And we are going to be the ones who are going to shape the direction that our children are going to go. And for me, there was never a more personal reason to be a good role model or to be an outstanding global citizen. Because I know that every single day when I wake up, this cute little boy with just delicious cheeks. Now people are tweeting me, which I love, so I can't even show you a picture of him. I'll show you later. But every day he's looking up at me, and I know that you guys have the same thing. And I hear all the time people that are skeptical, that think that we can actually change the world. I hear it all the time. People, especially when I'm working to end human trafficking and sexual exploitation, these huge, massive things, prostitution, for example, being one of the oldest forms of oppression on the planet. People say, you really think that you're going to make a difference? And yeah, I really, really genuinely do, because I see it happen all the time. It's happened throughout the entire context of history. It's happening still today. One of my favorite, one of the most inspiring stories, I'm like a total history nerd. And so, right? I love history. I just got back a couple months ago from being, we traveled Europe, we did Ireland, loved the history of Ireland, everything going on there, and loved the history when we were in Israel as well. So I love history, and so I specifically am inspired by, at the beginning of the early 19th century, there was this group of neighbors from Clapham, England. Maybe you've heard of them. Right? They tend to follow this guy. You may have heard of him, William Wilberforce, kind of a big deal. They were just a group of neighbors who were actively engaged and believed deeply in social activism, in social reform. They got together and they campaigned Parliament. They literally changed the world. And one of the things that I love most about them is how it was just run by ordinary people. The whole revolution ran in living rooms and people's houses. Front and center, you had women that ran the households, that chose to raise their families in a way that looked different. They campaigned for the end and actually abolished legal slave trade within the entire British Empire. And as we all know, the British Empire, it touches every corner of the globe. They literally transformed the world. And one of the things that was so profound was that they did this and accomplished this by living justice as a lifestyle. They saw the effects upon humanity that the slave trade had, and they said, no, if this is what it looks like, we aren't going to buy into it. And they boycotted the entire sugar industry, and it crippled it from the ground up because it completely dried up the demand, and the world as we knew it changed in kitchens and living rooms at the hands of mothers. Come on, somebody give me an amen. They changed the entire course of history. Or 5 Canadian women that had the audacity to say that women are persons, right? And it changed everything. Like, come on, a woman's place is in the revolution, right? A woman's place is in the revolution. And it is just as true today as it always has been. And that's what motherhood looks like. That's what motherhood is all about. I was having this conversation with this radio host, she said something that stuck with me. She's like, you really think that you can have these intellectual, complex, hard discussions with children as we're talking in the context of these huge, massive social justice issues that we're facing right here, right now in our time, whether that be homelessness and poverty or Black Lives Matter or rape culture or, these real issues that affect our daily lives, both here locally and globally. She didn't seem to think that you could have these conversations with children. But for me, in the work that I do, I am incredibly privileged. I work as a BC director for the Joyce Smith Foundation, but the majority of my job is public speaking and traveling and speaking at conferences and speaking to young people and speaking to Parliament and speaking, to these different groups of individuals. And my favorite people to talk to are young people. Bar none, absolutely my favorite. They're just so inspiring. There's so much good stuff going on in their brains. It's outstanding. And I know you all know this because you're all moms and you get to hear the incredible and sometimes profound and sometimes just weird stuff that our kids come up with, right? But it's really innovative a lot of the time, the things that our children come up with. And I want to share with you some of the stories of the moments that have stuck out most to me. In 2011, we were doing a lot of campaigning. I was working in Parliament in 2011, and we were doing a lot of campaigning to change laws. And so I was traveling and speaking to schools a lot of the time because I was also the current Miss Canada at the time. And I spoke at this one elementary school in Surrey. And it was a bunch of grade 7 kids, and we were talking about human trafficking. We talked about it in a global context. We talked about it in a Canadian context. And then afterwards, there were these 3 boys that I was talking to, and everyone else had gone into recess and was playing and running around. It was just about summer. So anyway, everybody was outside in the gorgeous weather, and these 3 boys, like 11, 12 years old, hung out, and they were, get loud, it's good. And they hung out, and they wanted to hear more. So we spent probably about like another half hour just answering questions and hearing what they thought. And these younger boys were asking me, they were all Indo-Canadian, and so they asked, does human trafficking happen? Yeah, they're asking, like, does human trafficking happen in Canada or in India? Sorry. And so we were talking about that. We talked about, some of the things of what it looked like in India when we're talking about human trafficking and exploitation. And there was one boy that was really quiet. You could see his gears were going, and he was just really processing and thinking and taking this in. And he just sat there just with his arms crossed the whole time. And his forehead is focused. And he's quiet, and he's sitting there, and he looks up at me, and he's got determination in his eyes. And he looks up at me and says, yeah, we're going to do something about this. Because we're men. And that's what we do. I was like, yeah, how are your parents? They're raising you right. Right? This kid is 11, 12 years old. Most adults that I talk to are it's never going to change. And this kid is we're doing something about it. Because men stand up for what's right. I was like, yeah, this guy's got the right idea about masculinity. Right? It was awesome. Another one of my favorite moments was another young man at a school in the North Shore, and he comes up to me. He's like walking down the aisle in like a school theater like this, and he walks right to me, and he's like, "Who's the guy that goes after the bad guys?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, you know, we work quite closely with the ICE unit, the Integrated Child Exploitation Unit, and blah 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 blah. And we deal with online cyber exploitation and this and that." And I'm explaining everything to him. He's like, "I'm gonna be that guy." I'm like, "All right, you do it." And like he walks away and he starts going back up the aisle, and I'm like super impressed by this kid, and I'm like, "You do it. You don't let anybody tell you otherwise." And I kid you not, he turns around, he's like somebody's watched way too many action movies, but this kid is like, his intensity, I'm like, I don't want to be on the wrong side of this kid. He's going to be the right one. You know, or in 2011, we were, like I said, we were working to change some laws in Parliament. And so I spoke at another high school, this time in Langley. And there were these 5 girls that were, I think they were grade 10 at the time. They really, really, really strongly were moved by the issue of human trafficking. They were so moved by the fact that the average entry age into prostitution in Canada is 11 to 13 years old. They heard this at 15 years old, and they're like, "That's our peers. This could be me, this could be my sister, this could be my friend, this could be my neighbor, this could be my cousin." They're like, "This is not acceptable. This is not okay. We are not standing for this. We are doing something about it." They rallied their whole entire school. Every single student at their high school hand wrote an individual letter and sent it off to their member of parliament. Every single one. These kids can't even vote. And every single one wrote a letter, each individual, to their member of parliament. I was working in Parliament. I was living in Ottawa and working in Parliament at the time. And I was standing just outside of the House of Commons, and I saw this member of Parliament running down the aisle again at me. And I was like, "That's it, I'm in trouble. I said something again that I wasn't supposed to say." And he comes up to me, he's like, "Tara, I just got 700 letters from these students. They showed up in my desk. They're demanding that we do something about human trafficking. What do I tell them?" So we had a conversation about that. And the amazing thing is, not only did this member of parliament respond to those letters, he actually went in person to the school, and he had conversations face to face with those kids. And it was amazing. And as a result, a couple years later, on December 6th, 2014, the very day that my son entered the world, that law became law in Canada and received royal assent. And those children, their voices, those voices are now on parliamentary record from now until the apocalypse. They will always be known that they stood up for the value and dignity of people's lives at that time. It took dedication to change the course of Canadian history with those laws. It was not easy, but that's what it means to raise world changers. It takes dedication. It's not easy. Sometimes it's a battle, right? But standing up for what's right is always, always worth it. And if we want to raise that kind of revolution, it begins in us. It begins in us being the badass women that are running after our passion and our purpose. And quite honestly, I don't ever want to be the kind of woman who's content to just play it safe. I think that sometimes there's this idea out there that moms are just like safe, and we're nice, and we're nurturing, and we're sweet. And we can be all those things, but don't you dare cross us either, right? You don't cross us. A mother is strong as. Badass women who are raising the future, who are raising a revolution, and we're going to change everything just the way that we've done it in the past. So, we could keep going on this. One thing that I really, really, really want you to remember this, walking away from our talk today, is that your children need to see you running after your passion and your purpose. And I think sometimes as moms, we put that a little bit on the back burner because we put our kids first. We will always put our kids first. If my house is burning down, I'm running after my kid, right? And I know you guys are all going to be the same. But your kids need to see you running after your passion and your purpose unapologetically. You need to show your kids that they can have career and they can have family. Because it's 2016, y'all. Right? Your kids need to see you changing what society looks like so that they don't have to do these same issues when they're having kids, right? To make the world a better place for our kids and our grandkids. Women are the ones who can see into the future. We have the vision for that, right? We see our kids and we're like, oh, you're going to be this. Or like, you're doing this and you're doing that, right? We can see who our children can become, and we will invest into that. And so your kids need to see you, likewise, running after your passion and running after your purpose. They need to see you living in community, because everything that we do impacts one another. We were meant to live in community. We were meant to live in relationship. That's why the sisterhood of motherhood is so important. That's why days like today are so important. So here's what we're going to do. If you haven't been taking notes already, now's a good time to do that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have hard conversations with our children. Even if they're young, they understand. You know, my son is going to be 2 in December, and I have to raise my son to understand that, yes, he has privilege because he is born a male. Not to feel bad about that, but just to understand that he has that opportunity to bring huge influence. It starts now in the language that I use to speak to him, in the way that I encourage him to aspire to be all that he can be. It means that I have to teach him how to handle rejection well one day, because I don't want him to be a man that one day contributes to the rape culture that we're dealing with, right? These things are really, really important. We need to teach our children to use their social influence to empower and to stand up for others, to be change agents in our world. Number 2, we need to raise them to know the world. Okay, so it means that our kids, their friends, their birthday parties need to look like the rainbow. I mean that in every context of the word, whether that be gender, whether that be race, whether that be religion. You know, you deal with, we're hearing some really scary things coming out of the States right now. Islamophobia, I'm looking at you. Really scary things happening in the States right now. And that's how we combat it. We need to know and understand one another, because that's what breaks down these walls that divide us and the fear that can so easily overwhelm, right? Our kids need to look like the rainbow, and their friends need to look like a rainbow. And that's the great thing about being in Vancouver, right? We have everybody here, and it's so wonderful. And we need to teach them how to see the humanity in one another. We need to get them involved. When you take them grocery shopping, let them make a few choices. Try to make them socially conscious choices, whether that be like, you know, ethically made or locally sourced or whatever, and teach them the importance in those choices. But then take them with you when you drop them those choices off to the food bank. Have those conversations about who needs these things and how we look out for one another, and knowing that everybody has a different story, not to judge where other people are at in life, right? Really easy. When you go and if you volunteer at the soup kitchen, bring them with you to make sandwiches, you know, and have those conversations. Take on a sponsored child with them. Personally, I've been to other places in the world and here in Canada where sponsorship really works, and there are some really great organizations out there that you can support for like nothing. And you can have pen pals with your kids, and you can start to have those conversations of, you know, these kids are born here and we're born there, and what we do here affects those kids there, and how the world is such a small village now these days, right? And maybe one day you'll even have the opportunity where you can take your child to meet this child that they've built a relationship with around the world, and you can see where they come from and who they are. You know, show them also what we face here at home. Teach them about the beauty of our First Nations people. Teach them as well about the destruction of colonization and what that has meant for their communities, right? But also teach them that we, again, have the power to change what the future will look like for all of us, right? Everyone who calls Canada home. You know, or even, you know, look for charity events that you can get involved with in your community. There's one happening really soon in October 1st. We're going to be there, and there's 2 locations, Richmond, Fort Langley. There's a 5K charity walk that's happening to end human trafficking across Canada. Everything we raise goes back into prevention, rescue, and rehabilitation programs right here in BC. So if that's something you want information on, let me know, and I'd love to have you push your stroller next to mine or walk with your older kids next to mine, because we're going to be there. You know, it's things like that. It's really simple, really easy ways that we can raise our kids to be world changers, right? But we have to make the choice. We have to be conscious. And as we raise this revolution, both within us and within our families, we make the choice to be influential, to do these things right. And we know as we look through history, and we look and we see the women who have so bravely gone before and what they have accomplished, I hope that it lights a fire and a fuel in your veins and in your heart to know that it's happening right now. Like if 5 women in Canada could change the law for all of us. I mean, I failed math, but I'm pretty sure there's more than 5 of us in this room, right? What we can accomplish together. That's what motherhood is about. So as I leave you today, I just want to share, this is my final word. This is my prayer to cover all of us. Let this take root and nurture within our hearts. It was written by, it's the manifesto, Let Us Be Women Who Love. It was written by a good friend of mine, Idalette McVicker, and I just like sink into this as I share it with you today. If you need to close your eyes to just let it wash over you, just let it wash over you and take root in your heart. Because this is my prayer for us as women. This is my prayer for us as sisters, that this would be the women that we become and the role models that we would pour out onto our children. So let us be women who love. Let us be women willing to lay down our sword words, our sharp looks, our ignorant silence, our towering stance, and fill the earth with extravagant love. Let us be women who love. Let us be women who make room. Let us be women who open our arms and invite others into an honest, spacious, glorious embrace. Let us be women who carry one another. Let us be women who give from what we have. Let us leap to do the difficult things, the unexpected things, and the necessary things. Let us be women who live for peace. Let us be women who breathe hope. Let us be women who create beauty. Let us be women who love. Let us be a sanctuary where God may dwell. Let us be the garden for tender souls. Let us be a table where others may feast on the goodness of God. Let us be a womb for life to grow. Let us be women who love. Let us rise to the question of our time. Let us speak to the injustices in our world. Let us move mountains of fear and intimidation. Let us shut down the walls that separate and divide. Let us fill the earth with the fragrance of love. Let us be women who love. Let us listen for those who have been silenced. Let us honor those who have been devalued. Let us say enough with abuse, abandonment, diminishing, and hiding. Let us not rest until every person is free and equal. Let us be women who love. Let us be women who are smart, savvy, and wise. Let us shine with the light of God in us. Let us be women who take courage and sing the song in our hearts. Let us be women who say yes to the beautiful, unique purpose seated in our souls. Let us be women who sing and call out the song in one another's heart. And let us teach our children to do the same. Let us be women who love. Let us be women who love in spite of fear. Let us be women who love in spite of our stories. Let us be women who love loudly, beautifully, divinely. Let us be women who love. And that's my prayer for all of you.